So the reason for that is that um, you can kind of, maybe I'll use a very simple analogy to demonstrate that. It's sort of like emotionally, the emptiness body, it's sort of like emotionally remaining neutral of emotion. Kind of being like serious, not rigid or not tense, but kind of being like serious the whole time. And then, uh, um, this enjoyment body, it's kind of the whole array of emotional expression. Joy, dynamic energy, dynamic emotions, dynamic expression. But nevertheless, you can remain in this neutral seriousness without ever going to that side. Understand? So, and this is actually very relevant because, most Buddhist schools, like I said in the beginning, uh, they don't really, the path ends at emptiness. Um, and it's, of course, a whole different discussion whether, how often practitioners actually get there, which is very, very not so often. But yeah, we can uh, kind of see that in, if we start looking at the greatest practitioners and greatest teachers and masters of the recent history of our time, and start looking at them, who have this, who remain in that emotional neutral seriousness, and who have that lightful, playful, joyful, you know.
So is it a disadvantage to stay in the neutral seriousness?
I guess it depends. If I'm kind of joking a bit, I guess it depends who you ask, but I think there's something missing in there, you know, there's something missing. And like I said, that it's an artificial divide between Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya, and this is done in Buddhism to bring clarity, to help us understand, what we need to, in which order we need to do things. Because if we don't have order, what will happen to us is that we will end up in blissful states, and that's not the reality. That doesn't last. Those are bubbles that we go into or get stuck in. So yeah, and like I briefly, what I tried to convey in the last session was that, the whole world, our surroundings are full with different physical forms and colors and different expressions of life, buildings and everything around us. And, you know, there's, I live on the pedestrian street of this town, and I can see, dozen different buildings of different colors from my balcony. And, they are not transparent, they are not made of one color. It's a array of different expression. And it's exactly like that with everything in the outer physical world and our internal world. Our mind is not only transparent, it's not only empty, but it has light, color, expression, beauty, poetry, dance, music to it. And that's of course life itself. So if we have that, only that emptiness body, I think it's incomplete. And like I said, it's an artificial divide. So to me it simply makes sense that both bodies together. And actually, Larry, yourself, we've had for years we have discussed about the fine aspects of especially Zen Buddhism and Taoism. We have really delved deep into the philosophical beauty of those doctrines. So I was just gonna mention it in the last session. I didn't, but I was meaning to mention it later today, that in Taoism there's really beautiful, they got it, because if you study some basics about Taoism, you understand that it's all about birds singing, and it's all about natural phenomena. It's all about beauty and richness. So Taoists certainly got it. And one of the most foundational Taoist meditation practices is smiling. I didn't bring this up in the first session because I was gonna bring it in the next, but smiling is an excellent meditation practice, and that activates that enjoyment body, like switching off a light switch. But again, if it leads to, if the mind is still hasn't been purified, if there's no insight, it will lead to blissful, and you will get stuck. But if it is clear and pure, then it will reveal the birds and beautiful flowers, peonies, and whatever other traditional Chinese flowers, all that beauty.
But it was an interesting conundrum in Ugi's question as to, in a sense, whether a Buddhist Mahasiddha is better than a Hindu one. But that seemed to be the sort of background to the question in a way.
Well, it's something that we recently had, last year we had Lama Lise. She's Chaltral Rinpoche's student and Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche's student who did a long retreat directly under Chaltral Rinpoche, and she said that they said that all you need is trekche, which means that all you need is emptiness realization, and that's correct in the sense that you only need that to become a Buddha, to become liberated for the sake of others. That's a fact. But maybe I could speculate that when one does reach that end stop of emptiness practice, that if you look at Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, I have his image next to my work table, and he's smiling in that. So I think that enjoyment body just comes naturally itself. But it's a different question, like I mentioned in our last session about different stages or maturity in Sambhogakaya Thogal practice. First you get some taste of it, and then you continue the practice and you become confident in it. And finally, your whole being, your whole energy body, and it feels very physical, this type of practice. Your whole subtle body becomes established in that. So it's no longer different. So we are talking about, just like with emptiness meditation, there is progress, there is an arc of process and progress. So it's exactly the same with Thogal, that it's a different question whether it's a matter of familiarity, whether one attains either form of the so-called rainbow bodies, small rainbow body or full rainbow body, or commonly discussed in Hindu yoga, as merely as light body. So
Yeah, I could say something about an early question about liberation in Dharmakaya or Sambhogakaya. I thought Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nimanakaya were indivisible.
yeah.
Because you always move through form and emptiness, and then of course there's the movement of the Sambhogakaya or your light body. I think they call it Sambhavakaya or something. I can't pronounce it well. When Tibetan, so what? My wife can pronounce it, but I come here, pronounce it please to them. So, I didn't see my wife also if I change it. I know who's Tibetan, that I know. But you want the Sanskrit? That one. It means, that's the indivisibility of the three kayas. So if you have liberation of one of the kayas, don't you have then liberation of all the kayas?
No, I don't think so, because yeah, that's an interesting thing that there are different. I'm not a specialist on scriptures. I really suck at scriptures, but that much I know that they do discuss different stages, and
Yes.
in Pemako, because we use Bumis as our path map, we have the 11th Bumi that corresponds with the Nirmanakaya Buddhahood, where one realizes emptiness of all phenomena, and that's how you become a Buddha in the physical body, a Nirmanakaya Buddha.
Yes.
And then then from that basis you then continue to 12th and 13th Bhumi stages, which are second and third types of Buddhahood. So from the point of view of emptiness, there is no difference between first stage or second and third stage, but in terms of richness, there is.
Right. Okay.
That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, it's yeah. Just checking, because that's what I've been taught. That's why they have the fourth kaya, like in empowerment. They always give a Dhammakaya empowerment, a Sambhogakaya empowerment, and then they call also Chirku, Longku, and Chirku, and then Noku is the essence kaya, where you state that they are indivisible in most tantric empowerments. So that's why I was wondering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good that you have a wife to,
Yeah, I need it for this. I need it for many things. My life would be chaos if my wife was not here. Maybe you have to come for dinner one day here, and then you can also see he's a marvelous cook. If I have to cook, you never come back. Oh, she's going to say something.
Yes, please, you're welcome. Nice to see you.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. All right, let's continue practice.